Hi everyone, this is Paul. Welcome back to my video series, Darn Good Advice. Today's Darn Good Advice is managing emergency funds and sinking funds. So when it comes to money, there's three things that we do. We spend it, not going to talk about that, or we save it or invest it. Now, people use those terms interchangeably and they shouldn't. Let's talk about and define what each one is. We're starting with savings. Savings protects the money that you already have, whereas investing means you're going to risk putting your money to work in hopes of getting you more money in the future. So the two are completely different. For the sake of this video, because I do have other videos that talk about investing for specific purposes, like investing for retirement or investing for college, we're going to focus on saving only. So when we're talking about savings in this video, there are four use cases where saving and protecting the money that you already have has a place in your financial blueprint, starting with emergency funds and then any short term need or needs that have a defined date of execution, such as we know we're getting married November of 2028. Well, you don't want to be in the stock market in September of 2028 because if the market goes down, you're not going to have enough money to get married. So there's use cases for saving in the short term or with a definitive date of execution. When there's situations where you need liquidity, I need cash. I don't have time to wait for my brokerage account to execute my sell order and then eventually wire the money to my account. I need to go to an ATM machine. I need cash in the next 15 minutes, and it has to be there. And then perhaps during periods of uncertainty, then savings has a good place for you. So let's get into these things, starting with where do I keep savings? So naturally, you're thinking about putting your money into a bank, and I wholeheartedly concur. But I would take it one step farther and say, please take a look at some online banks called high yield savings accounts because they're not maintaining a brick and mortar presence. They don't have a coffee machine and office furniture and all the other stuff. They pay higher interest rates. Comparison, a brick and mortar bank like you would drive past as you're going down the road pays about 0.3% interest today. High yield savings accounts are paying 4% interest. So it's zero point 0.3 versus 4. And if you have a sizable amount of money, then that truly makes a difference. So please consider high yield savings accounts. And when you do, please make sure that they are FDIC insured. That way, if the bank should go insolvent for some reason, the federal government makes sure that you're covered up to $250,000 per depositor. So let's talk about other use cases. Being prepared with the emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund? Well, it's one of your first financial goals as you're putting together your financial plan, or what I call your financial blueprint. We want to target 3 to 6 months of after tax living expenses. Now, this is a real number. You should be able to get it to the penny because you can go back and take a look at your bank statements, your credit card statements, your debit card statements, etc., and see where your money is going on a month by month basis and plan for it accordingly. 3 to 6 months is a general rule of thumb. If you have a job where you know you're going to be rehired easily, like a nurse, like an engineer, maybe 3 months is enough for you. But if you've got a job where you're not sure you're going to get rehired quickly, or you're not sure that you're going to be rehired at your current level of compensation, then you need a longer period of time. Now, that period of time is completely up to you, but please understand that it should be accounted for in your financial plan. 3 to 6 months is a rule of thumb. This is money that can't be risked. You can't risk having your money disappear in the stock market during a market correction or a downturn. And this is money that is not an investment. That's why we're not in the stock market. While we want most of our money earning more for the future, leveraging that beautiful thing called compound interest over time to make us wealthy. There are use cases where we just need to make sure we have cash, and that's where these savings accounts come in. So don't be upset that it's 0.3% or that it's only 4% while your stocks are doing 10, 12, or 15. This is not investment money. Don't worry about it. And it is for a true emergency. Don't make up a new emergency in your head to justify getting to that pool of money, that bucket of money that you see growing every month. This is when the roof blows off the house. This is when the tree falls on the car. This is when water's squirting out a leaky pipe and you need a plumber at 2 o'clock in the morning. Please restrain yourself to understanding that a true emergency is the use case for an emergency fund, not for my mental health. I could really use a Caribbean vacation. No, sorry, honey, not playing that game. So, what about non emergencies that fall into the savings category? Well, these are called sinking funds. And don't be dismayed by the picture. It simply means that we're saving money for a specific purpose. So, we're going to, and I'll give you an example. I'll save up $3,000 for a new refrigerator. When I have my $3,000, then and only then is it time to buy the new refrigerator, and that account balance will sink all the way to zero. And that's okay because we use that account specifically for that purpose. So there's many situations where you know you need the money for something specific. And as these pictures denote, maybe it's a one-time or a net new thing like buying a new car or buying a new house. But also understand that sinking funds are for any predictable expense, such as maintenance and upkeep. So there will be a time you need a new roof. There will be a time you need a new water heater. There will be a time you need new brakes or tires. And if you've got kids, yes, Christmas comes every year. They're not changing the date, so you might as well start planning for it so that the whole idea here is that you don't revert back to sinking into debt, living on credit, ringing up your ridiculously expensive 22 to 25% credit cards when you saw this coming a mile away. It's time to be responsible and plan for the foreseeable future. So there are also use cases for saving in moments of uncertainty. What are those? Well, I don't advocate for trying to time the market, but there are times, such as every 4 years, when we have a political election, a national election for presidency, where the markets may take a downturn and people may want to lock in their gains ahead of any uncertainty. What about the next time there's a military incursion or the next pandemic? Well, when you see these things happening in the news, although I really don't advocate for trying to time the market, I do understand that for many people, they would like to lock in and hold in the short term. And so I'm not talking about day trading. I am talking about a short term use case for savings in the face of economic uncertainty. And when you do that, then a savings account is perfect for that. That's who holds your money while everything else is going wherever. So, can you use a credit card for emergencies? Well, our friend Dave Ramsey would have a heart attack if I ever said that. But the funny thing is that he actually advocates for this, not in so many words, but when callers call in and they say they have debt and they have money in the bank, what they will tell them is to keep $1,000 in the bank instead of using it to pay off their debt. So they're basically leveraging the credit card to cover the debt. If with $1,000 kept in the bank, if an emergency comes up that's under 1,000, then they say, well, you can use the cash. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's already $1,000 worth of credit card debt that you're dealing with for an emergency. Right? It's a wash, but they spin it a different way, and that I have a whole nother video on where I discuss my differences with Dave, as well as my massive agreement with Dave. So that's interesting that it's there, but it is there. And that's the key point of my conversation. The other thing is that I don't want you to be enticed by the massive temptation that Paul said it's okay to use the credit cards. I am talking about a short term time horizon where we leverage the certainty of paying off the debt, the certainty of not having those new monthly interest charges juxtaposed to the highly unlikely actual emergency happening in your monthly budget, right? A true emergency may happen once or twice a year, whereas new interest charges on your car loan, new interest charges on your credit cards, new interest charges on your student loans, they're smacking you every month. And the sooner we get rid of those charges, the better off you're going to be. And in that time horizon, as you pay off your credit card balances and you have more available credit, you can use that available credit in the event of a true emergency. I don't think this is an ongoing model. I don't think you're going to be doing this 3 years from now. I think it's only for caveat emptor, buyer beware. It's only for that time when you're building up your cash reserves. Okay? But I want all your money going towards debt elimination. And that takes us into our roadmap. Now, if we again reference our good friend Dave Ramsey in his 7 baby steps, his emergency fund shows up in 2 different places. Sometimes it's a net new, saving up your first 1,000. Sometimes it's keeping 1,000 in the bank instead of putting your savings towards debt, but it's still there one way or the other. And then after some debt payoff, he says, okay, now let's fill out the rest of the emergency fund. And I am completely there with you, other than that first $1,000, right? So I think where are we in your financial blueprint? Very first thing you do is you create a written budget. You have to know where your money's going, and then you can free up as much, and the word is margin. Got another video on that too. You can maximize your margin, get rid of your consumer debt, which is anything other than your mortgage, car, credit card loan, student loan, the money you owe Uncle Al, whatever it is. You get rid of your debts. Every penny goes towards debt elimination. During that particular time span, you can rely on a credit card if an emergency comes up. But then we're starting to build our actual cash reserves for emergency funds and sinking funds. And then we're done with credit. We're done with credit, okay? So that was, where are we clockwise? Oh, wow, 13 minutes of darn good advice on managing emergency funds and sinking funds. Here are my links. A new video here, a subscription link over there. Please like, subscribe, share my videos in other social media outlets, please. Not only are you sharing the knowledge, you're helping me get my algorithms up so that people can actually find me on YouTube. Check out my channel, like and subscribe, please, to both. I promise you, you'll find positive, profitable, good, darn good advice on my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.